Hey everyone, Boartato here. I've been noticing on Reddit that a lot of people are complaining that they don't do well when they go into the Black Zone, and there's been quite a few people who've managed to kind of figure out the mechanics out there on their own. I figured a little helping hand wouldn't hurt. So I've been spending pretty much all the time I've been playing Albion in the Black Zone since Beta 2, and I picked up a couple tips and tricks, and I'll admit most of this has been taught to me, I didn't figure it out myself. And I want to try and like get it all together into one area for people to watch and learn from, and it's going to take a little while. I'm going to include some jump cuts to the different parts in the description for anyone who wants to just move to specific things. All right. Anyway, first off, we're going to talk about the portal. This is going to be quick. I know most people will understand this mechanic. You're going to find it in Caerleon, of course. Now, it's not obvious on the map anymore, but it's on the northwestern corner over here, where my arrow is. And you just go through this zone here, and this leads you to the new realm portal, once it lets us in. You can also access the bank and the auction house from here as well as in town, which is pretty cool. Anyway, so when you click on the portal here, you get a bunch of options to go to different places, and you can also choose them based off the name. The basic difference here is that each of these colors represents a different tier of black zone. I tend to refer to them as green being low black and red being high black, with yellow being mid. The difference between them is visible on the world map. So if I go up here, and this is low black, Anglia, and we select the location, you'll notice that up here we have a rare resource chance of 6%, which is the same that you'll find in the red zones. But if we go to mid black, you see that it goes up to 12%, which means there's more and more shiny nodes. And finally, in high black, it pretty much doubles yet again, and it goes up to 23%. So it's important to note the difference between these because you can't go to all of them all at the same time. The way it works is when you go through a portal, you're going to get a 2-hour debuff. That will prevent you from going to any of the other portals. But you can still travel to locations within the same continent. So, for example, if we were to go to Thistlecopes and then run over to Hot Shadow Plains, we're still allowed to do that. You're only allowed to port from Caerleon to one of them. So you can actually go all the way from low black to high black by just doing a couple different hops. You do the Hot Shadow first, and then you do Alderwood to Elmwood. Now, each one of those requires a 10-minute wait, because on top of the 2-hour wait to go to a different continent, you have a 10-minute wait to go to a different portal in the same zone. So while we're actually done talking about the map itself, it's time to start talking about the people who live in the map, because they're going to be quite important to what it is that you want to do out there. And when you click on a zone, you're going to notice that there's a time given in in-game time UTC up there. Now, the important point to note is this zone is conquered by people fighting at that time. It's likely that whatever guild owns that particular zone, they're going to be fairly active during it. So if you're picking locations to go, be wary of when it is that you're on. If you're on in the prime time for people who can hit this zone at 1 UTC, then this zone's probably going to have the most people in it at that time. And if you pick 12 hours apart from this, you're probably going to have the least possible. And it's not a hard and fast rule, but it's a decent guideline to kind of help you figure that out. The next thing we need to talk about is actual guilds to watch for, because you're going to need to actually pay attention to that. Now in the top right corner, you'll see the 3 bars. That opens the rankings list. Now the important part is, if we go to kill value, which represents PvP kills, and we can take a look at some alliances and some guilds. Now some of these will get a lot of their kill fame from the red zone, and we don't need to worry about much in the black. But it's still worth knowing names just in case. So if you have people from the Oops Alliance walk up on you, and they are rated pretty highly in kill fame, you should be a lot more on the guard that they have been telling other people in the zone, they have friends looking for you. Like, they're going to be passing information to their PvPers. Whereas someone who's not on the list at all, like WLK, it's less likely that they're going to have 10 people sitting nearby to come and kill you. There still might be a gank party, definitely be wary of them, but it's levels of anxiety that you need to work with. The other thing that's worth noting is paying attention to who actually owns the zone you're in. So if you're going to Dun Regulus, which you probably shouldn't be, as I mentioned earlier, but if you do, You might want to be wary of anyone with the Filthy Casuals tag because it's likely that they have friends in the zone to inform that you're in the area. If you're going over to Gustel, you'll notice that you actually have two different guilds you need to worry about. The Headhunters and the Overlords, which are both part of the same alliance in this particular case. The whole point being is know who's dangerous and know who's less likely to be dangerous. Seeing one person trying to gank you from a guild you've never heard of isn't a big deal, but someone from one of these large PvP guilds trying to gank you means, and failing, assuming you're not dead already, means you should get out of dodge, because if they didn't manage to get you the first time, they're going to be telling their friends to come get you for the second. The last thing we actually need to cover before we can finally get our feet on the ground is the concept of loot logs and death logs in this game. Now, they can get buried in information pretty quickly if you don't set it up specifically. But when you're out there, you should make sure that you have a very low volume chat, like maybe just set to party, local whisper say, and mix it with kill player. Any death that happens on the map, it will give you their name, which allows you to check the kill board to see what group they're from, and it also tells you who or what killed them, because they can be a suicide or it could be someone else killing them, and it gives you a lot of information when you're out there. If you're wondering, oh gee, someone died, who is it that killed them, and you find out it's the zone owner, then that's the kind of thing where you decide to yourself, maybe I shouldn't be here right now. So there's definitely a lot to learn from that. And the loot log, it's important to basically just keep loots and deaths on this one, is important because enemies looting bodies broadcasts what they're doing in a wider radius than you can see them. So it can help give you information about players nearby, about players in a dungeon, that kind of thing. Some people will actually specifically avoid picking up anything in a dungeon that's not like super valuable, just so that the loot log doesn't betray them to anyone who's close enough to get the message. Alright, that should finally be enough to actually get us going into the black, and we can start discussing the zones themselves. Thanks for watching part 1 of my video guide. Hope to see you at the next one.